Let me tell you about the way murder trials work when it comes to sentencing. Because in the last, I'd say 2 to 3 decades, things have really shifted in how judges allow the family members of victims to be a part of the process, which is really, really important, right? Because justice is about a lot of things. It's about protecting us from bad people, locking them away. It's about rehabilitating them, hopefully. But it's also about helping victims to feel like they're part of something and that they, I hate this word, can get closure, or at least some sense that there's a just God, you know? And a lot of jurisprudence didn't really look at that decades ago, but now it does. And you get to see it during sentencing when family members stand up and they say how this has affected them, the loss of their loved ones. Some judges in some states let infinite numbers. I've seen dozens and dozens come up to the front of the well and give their statements and stare straight at the soon-to-be inmate. But there's a judge in Idaho who's limiting things, and like really limiting things. Like the Lori Vallow judge, the one that limited us from going in there and being able to cover the case. The people who Lori murdered, JJ, Tylee, those are her kids, and then Tammy Daybell, her lover's wife, who she eventually married, they have families and they want to speak. But the judge says immediate family only. And he's really making it clear that immediate family doesn't mean aunt. Even though Tammy Daybell's mom died last month. Tammy Daybell's mom would be in there giving her victim's impact statement and telling Lori Vallow what the loss of Tammy means to that family. But she can't. She died of cancer just last month. So her sister was thinking she'd represent, you know. That's Tammy's aunt, her mom's sister. And the judge is saying no. Well, that's a painful thing to hear. And if I were Vicki Hoban, Tammy Daybell's aunt, I would be upset about it. And it's a good thing that I can ask her in person. She's joining me now for her first exclusive national interview. Ms. Hoban, thank you for doing this. And I am so sorry to be meeting you under these circumstances. I'm also very sorry that you've been denied this ability, this right to have your say in court. Can I ask you, how have you responded to the judge? Have you been able to respond to the judge about the decision to limit you?
Well, thank you, Ashley. I appreciate you having me on. The judge hasn't really responded other than to say that I am not eligible to give a victim's statement. What I did get was a note from the prosecutor's office, and they said that they were going to file something on my behalf and then talk to the judge because it didn't seem that he was clear on who I was. And then as I've kind of talked to the prosecutor's office, he said that they were not allowing aunts, uncles, grandparents. And so I went back and read it myself. And I basically, I'm in the same position that Kay Woodcock is in. She has been able to offer a statement because she is speaking as the victim's advocate for Charles, who's deceased. And for me, I also am in that position. If I can't speak as her aunt, I would like to be able to speak as my sister's advocate. And it seems like that's not being done right now. We're a little bit, it's coming up soon, and I'm not getting really positive feedback from the prosecutor. He hasn't talked to the judge. They haven't filed anything on my behalf. And so, you know, I don't want to wait until the last minute and not be able to face Lori. One of the things that has been so disturbing about everything is that Lori really hasn't had to face anybody in our family. There was a very short testimony given by my niece, Samantha. And other than that, she hasn't had to have anybody face her from our family. So this is extremely important to me. I lost my sister last month, and one of the things that I told her was that I would follow this through to the end. You don't understand me, but anyway, so I'm in the position where I'm not going to just walk away and give up. It's going to be, something I'm going to have to work through with them. I'm not getting really positive feedback from them right now, and that's what's so disturbing.
I am so sorry to hear this story, because I have covered so many trials where friends of victims have been allowed to give an impact statement, let alone, immediate family members. And I would consider you as an immediate family member, even as an aunt, and certainly as an advocate for her mom, who passed, which has also compounded your sadness, I'm sure, as well. And I'm sorry for that. Can I ask you if Tammy ever said anything to your sister, her mother, or you about Chad's behavior as Lori Vallow entered the picture secretly?
No, I would have to say no, that wasn't discussed. It wasn't, as far as we knew, they were happily married, as far as I knew. I truly think that Chad had led a double life. And, when somebody is that able to do that, he was very good at it, apparently. And nobody that I know of in our family, including Tammy, knew about any of what was actually happening.
So, leading up into the trial, there were lots of details we did not know. And during the trial, there were very uncomfortable details that came to light. And I know that Chad and Tammy's kids had supported Chad up until the trial. Has that changed? Is there a dynamic that's shifting after some of those really lurid details about Chad and Lori's illicit affair and plans to, deal with the wife situation, all of those awful details? Did that have an effect on their kids?
You know what? There's the one thing that I do know is that there's limited contact there. There is. I don't have contact with them. I don't know to the extent to what my sister had. She was in hospice during that period of time, and since has passed, as you know. And my brother-in-law may have some contact with them, but right now we're in mourning. He's definitely still in mourning. And it just hasn't been an appropriate time for us to kind of unpack that type of information or discuss that type of information. It's too close to the passing of Phyllis.
Vicki Hoban, I am so sorry. There is indeed a lot to unpack, and this is such a hard situation to be in while you're trying to process all of that. Keep us informed and let us know if anything changes before the sentencing at the end of the month. We'd like to follow the story, and certainly if you can't give your statement in court, you can give it here. That is a promise.
Oh, I'd love that. I really hope that things get moving. I appreciate this platform. I really do hope that the judge can see the similarity between other people that he is allowing and myself and make sense of it. If not, I would love the opportunity to come on and share it with the public this way. I think, I'd have to just hope that Lori saw it. I would rather face her in court. So that's my wish. And again, I appreciate you letting me come on and talk about it. And maybe this will get a little bit of moving in the right direction.
Get the ball rolling. Well, let's hope and do stay in touch. Vicki Hoban, thank you. Thank you for this. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you for watching. Please go to newsnationnow.com, newsnationnow.com, and you can find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button down below. Then you will get more of NewsNation's fact-driven coverage.